everyone, and welcome to Spark Animation 2024. We're here for Spark's Animation for Change initiative with two nonprofits providing access to the world of media and entertainment for underrepresented youth, Real Start and Exceptional Minds. My name is Stephanie Liakos. I'm the Communications and Marketing Manager here at EM. Could you please all introduce yourself and your association with your respective org? Let's start with Ethan, please.
Hi, all. I'm Ethan Shapanka, and I'm the executive director of Real Start.
Fantastic. And Steph?
Hi, I'm Steph Farrar. I am the director of studio programs, and I run our in-house 2D animation studio.
Awesome. Zion?
Hi, my name is Zion Ballard. I worked on Trees Blood 2023, and I am a Real Start graduate.
And Eden?
Hello, my name is Eden Wolfenson. I am a Real Start graduate, and I worked on Trees Blood in 2023.
And Becca?
Hi, I'm Becca David, and I am a studio artist at Exceptional Minds in-house animation studio, and I specialize in design and motion graphics work.
Awesome. And Ethan, can you please share a little bit about Real Start and what your work and what you do?
At Real Start, our mission is to develop a more inclusive next generation workforce for the entertainment industry. How we do that currently is we serve public high school students from historically marginalized communities to introduce career paths in film through a 22-week program where students not only blue sky and develop a script and idea, but they see that project through all the way to release. And through that, they get to collaborate with high-level industry professionals to kind of get a better understanding of the workflow and what each job's responsibility is in the creation of a film or television project.
Sounds like an awesome program. Steph, can you share a little bit about Exceptional Minds and the work that you do there?
Yes, absolutely. So Exceptional Minds is primarily a 3-year full-time academy that teaches young adults on this autism spectrum about careers in visual effects and animation. So it's a 3-year post-secondary program that's just like many other post-secondary programs. We also offer part-time workshops all throughout the year. So this is a good place for artists to kind of get started, to get a feel for the kinds of things we teach and see if the full-time program is a great fit for them or not. Attached to our full-time program, we have 2 professional studios. One is a VFX studio that does VFX for Marvel movies and all kinds of big name clients. And the other studio is the 2D animation studio, and that's the one that I head up. These studios are in place at Exceptional Minds as a way for the graduates from the full-time program to get their first jobs. So at these studios, we employ exclusively graduates from the program.
Wonderful. And Becca, I understand that you are a graduate from the program who now works in the animation studio. Can you please share a little bit about your experience with Exceptional Minds?
Certainly. When I was getting my associates back in 2019, I was looking for a program that would not only, prepare me for my career in animation, but also provide the accommodations that someone like myself would need, being neurodivergent. So an associate of mine found the Exceptional Minds website, and there had been like news reports and all that. So it was starting to gain traction. So from the moment I knew what it was about, I knew I had to be a part of this program. And so I applied to participate in the 3-year program. I started with I started with one of their 2-week workshops in the summer in storyboarding, and I studied the animation track in the 3-year program. And I specialized in design for animation and motion graphics. And that's the kind of work that I'm doing in the in-house studio as of now, including work for Real Start, both Peppermint Spiral and Trees Blood.
Awesome. That's really great. And so we actually are going to show that last one, Tree's Blood, in a little bit, but let's go back to the story. Zion, can you tell me a little bit about the story of Tree's Blood and also, what was it like developing the film and why would you choose animation for something like this?
Yes, creating Tree's Blood was just such a journey. I remember just we started out, and at first we were allowed to pick between a list of different social issues that we wanted to explore, and everyone wanted to do different things. But the one I wanted to pick the most was actually taken by the Real Start team in Canada. So we all decided to agree on doing environmental awareness instead. I was just like, okay, we're doing this. It has to be like, I didn't want it to be like run of the mill, what I usually see in terms of environmental films. So we just started like ping ponging ideas across from each other. And it was ranging from mainly in the sci-fi category, where one of the ideas I can remember is just like a tree in a lone cyberpunk city, just growing at the displeasure of the government. We wanted definitely the things that made it into the main film, which is like a big corporation. We wanted just nature against human creation, which seemed to be the running theme. And then as we were just like shooting ideas back and forth, one of the other people who was working with us had this idea of like, what if the film was about a immortal child experiencing the earth from its inception to the introduction of humans and then the decline of nature itself. And that really started as the core and the skeleton of our idea for what we were going to do with the film. So then we started, I think it really entered like the blue sky period. We were just shooting ideas across the board. We were like, okay, is this immortal child, how old are they? Are they like, do they act like a kid or do they act like a more just like immortal or whatever we think it would act like? Does this have to do with a jungle, a certain part of the forest? Where is it going to be located? Eden, in her notebook, started drawing sketches of what the girl could look like in terms of like, is she immortal? Is she human? We went through a phase where the girl was a human, but then we decided to make her more of a forest or a tree creature to kind of get that more like fantasy element that I felt I really wanted to incorporate in the story. We started going down also more of a eldritch horror route with it, where at points we were like, what if it could be a found footage film where it was just like we find a bunch of people who keep going missing into the forest and they're used as food for it. And some parts where we got very much in terms of a more nihilistic or depressing ending, but we decided to reel it back in. And we started coming up more with the ideas of what we were going to do. The immortal girl, which became the character Zamora, as with a type of fantastical tree creature, and basically she is kind of used as the segue between the nature itself and humanity, basically used as the main communication between the two. Instead of it being the entire earth, we scaled it down to a forest, where basically this big tree, Mother Nature, which we called Mama in the film, being the entire forest, communicates with Zamora, who is the child. We also, as well, all of us were young filmmakers, so we are seeing just incredibly on like social media the rise of the performative activist, one who pretends to be an activist or for nature, but is really either doing it for money or for views or for some other ulterior motive, not necessarily helping the world in which they falsely advertise. So we wanted to put that and incorporate that into our film, which became the character Elvira. And at the end, it kind of became a conflict between what it means to be a real activist, what it means to actually fight for nature or fight for the cause that you truly believe in, rather than performing it or pretending to. When it comes down to it, will you actually defend this? So the ideas in the story kept rolling from there. We worked with so many amazing directors and professionals and creatives in their field that Real Start brought in for us. It was such an incredible experience. People who were working on films and had worked on films that defined my childhood, being able to see their process the screenwriters even having like music for the soundtrack that was going to go with it, which completely blew me away because I didn't even know we were going to get that deep into it. At a point during our creative process, it went through a kind of like flat or blackout period, which I felt was kind of like where it felt like nothing was happening. I was like, okay, it feels like we kind of are getting back to the same three issues every single time. Some people aren't agreeing on the things we said we were going to agree on, like last week. And it was just at a point where I was just like, is this going to get done? What's going to happen? We haven't even figured out the ending. It feels like this is never going to finish. And even though I felt that way, it really wasn't the case. Where even though I felt like there was no progress being made steadily as we were working with these creatives, as we were talking with ourselves, we were fleshing out the story through our repeated dialogue and just like keeping more ideas flowing throughout our creative process as we were writing the script, as we were getting help, as we were talking to other creatives, as we were creating art. Me and Eden both love like drawing and we specialize in that, so we were just drawing art and like comparing storyboards or just different inspirations that came into our lives at different times during it, where our meeting would start at around 4 o'clock and then we'd get back home at 9 because there would be issues that we felt like didn't get properly just resolved during our session, so we stayed afterwards. And then after that, it just felt like it just at a point just sped forward, where all of a sudden we were going from finishing the final draft of the script to going into storyboarding, then going into acting over the storyboards, to then sending it off to exceptional minds and beginning the animation process of what color is this character's jacket going to be? What does this character look like? Turn to voices. Ayo Edebiri was the main voice for one of our characters, and that like blew me away. Like I'm just, they're so awesome. So it was just like, it kind of just had this sped up process to where I was at the premiere just like a year later at Nickelodeon. And I was just like, we went through the creative process fully. That is what the creative process looks like. That's the amount of work that it takes to bring an idea to fruition. And it was just such a transformative experience. It's just helped me so much in how I create things now as my own creative and just how I'll continue in the future. It was just a beautiful experience.
That's incredible. Yeah, collaborating with other creatives is such a learning process. And it's really awesome. We had so much incredible talent on Tree's Blood, really working on it. Like you said, Io. And so it was just absolutely amazing. All of the people who had a hand in the project. Eden, same question for you. Can you talk about what the process was like for you and why you thought that animation was the right choice for Tree's Blood?
At first, at the start of the process, we were all kind of like shy. We were getting to know each other. We were kind of like intimidated because we were working on like with industry professionals and we didn't know like how to act, how to do, how to be. And but once we all like started opening up and started sharing our ideas, that's when the ball like started to get rolling. And and I feel like animation was definitely the right way to go with this because we wanted a very fantastical film, and we wanted a very magical film. And that would have like there's a scene where Mama's Vines just rips up the entire city, and that would have been a lot more difficult had it been live action because not only would you need to find an actual city, but you would need to get all those people and like I feel like animation was definitely like the right way to go.
That's awesome. Yeah, animation really helps you create stories that we might not be able to see in the real world. And I think that really shines through with Tree's Blood. Speaking of that, Becca, you were one of the artists on the film. How did you find inspiration for this project? How do you find inspiration in general? And how did you realize that animation was a passion of yours?
Oh, well, I've always been drawn to animation. As a kid who had a really hard time connecting with the outside world because of my neurodivergence. It it was amazing to watch the experience. I grew up with the Disney Renaissance in the 90s, all those animated movies when it was huge. And it really had an influence on me. I watched the behind the scenes stuff all the time on the VHSs and DVDs. And and it was fascinating to watch that project the project, knowing that the final film, it starts is vastly different from its inception. And watching the film change and grow, even through those little bite-sized behind the scenes featurettes, was always appealing to me. And then I got older and I realized, hey, I can draw and I'm really good at it. I know that sounds like a humble brag, but stick with me. Um, so then I decided, okay, I'm really good at this and I could make this into a career. And that's what I did. When I found Exceptional Minds, and I am slowly but surely climbing that ladder. In terms of inspiration, I'm very inspired not only by Disney movies, but by storybook illustrations, by gothic horror and horror. Um, and as well as anime, manga. I grew up with that as well, and that had a big influence on my style. And that's basically where I am at this point.
That's great. I think you can really see that style come through in the illustrations and animation for Tree's Blood, which we actually are going to give our audience a special screening of right now.
Guys, it's Elviria here. Last week I exposed Happy Seafood for using dolphin, and now I'm coming for Mononoke logging. The blood of these trees is on their hands. If you want to change the world, like and share with #TreesBlood. And thank you, Coffee Shop Cold Brew, for fueling this change. Hello? Is someone there?
You're another logger, aren't you?
I'm literally the total opposite. I'm an eco-streamer.
Mama, I found another one. I found another logger.
Not a logger, a V-logger.
Eat her like the others, Mama.
What? No! I'm here to, stop them.
Don't listen to her.
Please don't eat me. I can help you. I'm like a totally big deal on this human thing called the internet. I can get people's attention.
Attention? That's the last thing we need.
I can connect you with all of my followers who, totally want to help. Much better. Now, watch this. Hey, y'all. It's your girl, Els. I'm here with... Tell them your name.
Zamora.
So, Zamora is a living tree person, and she needs our help. it's working. Greta freaking Thunberg just reposted me.
Me? You think this is working?
I mean, we're trending, so, yeah, Zamora, it is. Hey, it's, me. Oh!
Mama, you need to let all of them feel what you feel.
Oh.
Goodbye, vlogger.
Goodbye, living tree person.
Wow. What a cool animated short. I love it. It has a great message too. I think in Seth Rogen's words, he said, if you don't respect nature, it will kill you. Seen that interview somewhere, but I also know that the film, it does have a tie-in, a small tie-in to Paramount, or maybe not so small, tie-in to Paramount and Nickelodeon. Ethan, can you please explain a little bit about what that was like?
Of course, I would love to. I mean, Paramount Nickelodeon's support was multifaceted, and really a big shout out to Ramsey Nato, who's the president of Paramount Nickelodeon Animation. And the first part where they really benefited is they brought Real Start and EM to get and Exceptional Minds together. We both kind of share a mission of a more inclusive workforce. Obviously, we serve slightly different populations, but the first thing they did was connect us with Exceptional Minds in the studio, which is such an amazing opportunity for our students to learn how to collaborate with vendors and get to understand that it is not a single auteur shaping all this, and you have to be able to work and collaborate with many different departments, many different skill sets to bring a project from idea to completion. So number one, that was amazing. can't be ignored that they supplied funding to both our programs, allowing us to actually deploy our classroom and work together to deliver a high level final product. And then for Real Start, they also gave us guest speakers and industry experts to join our students in the classroom. And what was especially cool about that was all those guests came from their, at the time, in development project, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, which allowed our students to collaborate with real world industry professionals in the context of their work. So be it a previs director such as Ken Secchi, a casting director like Rich Delia, or even a producer like Lucas Williams, talk to our classroom about what their individual role is in the production, explaining that, but in the context of our students' work, which is just amazing for them to get to collaborate with people creating the art that inspires them, but also to get a taste of what those roles look like in a real world workforce environment.
It really is absolutely amazing. And Eden, I'd love to ask you, what does it mean to have a major studio support your work?
It's really insane. Honestly. Uh, when you're younger, you have an idea of what the industry is, and you have an idea of what these industry professionals are doing with their time and their life, and you think, oh, they're working on these big films and these big TV shows and these big projects, and you never really expect those projects that they're working on to be something that you're making. And it it really is a surreal experience to not only just have the support from professionals, but also have the support from Nickelodeon and Paramount. And I know that so much of us grew up with Nickelodeon and all the stuff that they've done, and it really is surreal, and it's very it really is insane.
It sounds incredible and so magical to be able to learn alongside professionals. Zion, what about you? What does it mean to have the support behind your projects?
I would agree with you and say magical is the right word for it. Usually, anytime I would think about joining the entertainment industry, it felt like such a faraway concept. One of those situations where it's just like in my head, the idea was I work really hard. I find a way through meeting somebody who knows someone else who knows someone else, and it'll take maybe a couple of years to finally work my way up to a position where I can start finally executing and doing all the creative projects that I have in my head. It felt like a very um hard industry to break into, as well as when you're a young artist, it's just also the fact of having to prove it or feeling like you have to prove yourself that, oh, I have the skill set, I have the ideas, I have the work ethic, I have the imagination and the passion for it. Like, I am a creative, and it's just like I have something to bring. And it feels like a lot of the time, it feels like you're either going to be ignored or dismissed, or just like have a difficult time explaining that to people or finding the right people to talk to in order to do what you want to do. So basically, for me, I had joining Real Start, I had just in my mind, it was just going to be a type of after school animation club. And I was like, okay, that sounds pretty fun. I had no idea exactly how seriously we were going to be taken, where it was just also that extra, just like, oh, I'm being taken seriously as a creative right now, where it's just like we were going over the script and we were spending all this time figuring out the different drafts and the different concepts. We would work with Real Start bringing in industry professionals to talk to us about screenwriting, about animation, about characters, about music, about how to draft out your ideas, like how to speak them out to other people and working in collaboration with others. It felt like, oh, this isn't just a club. This isn't just an internship. We are working on a creative project. This is what working in the industry looks like. And it was just such a like beautiful experience to be taken seriously as a creative, to be given that opportunity to learn the skills and just collaborate and just actually have that life experience of creating with a team to make something. Like, just like the hands-on experience that like it feels like not a lot of people get the opportunity to do. So it was just such a just beautiful time. It just inspired me and it gave me that self-confidence that yes, I'm an artist, I'm a creative, and like I can do this. I can do I can go into what my passion is and I know how to do it and I have the confidence to back it up. So it was just a beautiful experience.
That's incredible. And, we went back to the word magical. You echoed that. And it really does seem like, Real Start does have such a magical program, building that confidence and giving you opportunities to really jumpstart your career in a way that a lot of other people may not have access to, which is really incredible. Exceptional Minds does a really similar thing. Becca, how do projects such as this one help prepare you for a career in animation?
Well, first of all, personal aside, myself and a fellow EM employee, Aaron Trost, we're production interns on Mutant Mayhem. So we have a little experience in the Nickelodeon stable. All right. That being said, um, being in Exceptional Minds and taking part in this program has really expanded my sense of community and collaboration. Having those vocational classes they teach you all that stuff, all that nice, fun stuff that you need to succeed in this industry. They teach you the hard skills, the soft skills, all those filling out all that paperwork, the resumes, the business cards, the portfolio work, but as well as being able to collaborate on animation, because film in general is a collaborative effort. You have all the little moving parts. You've got the writing, you've got the visual development, you've got the production design, you've got the actors, actresses, you've got post-production, pre-production, all these little things. And being able to dissect them and look at them gives me a better understanding of the art of filmmaking. And I feel it has been very supplemental to my journey in this industry.
That's awesome. Yeah, there's always collaboration happening in the entertainment industry. We're always doing it, which is really awesome. So I want to talk about, this project, Trees Blood. Zion, the story, it has a really strong message, right? You already touched on the fact that you got to choose a topic that was really important to you. I'd love to ask, when creating this project focusing on environmental and maybe performative advocacy, where did you draw inspiration from? What films, what artists inspired you?
I would say just the films and like creative projects that really inspired me. One was Princess Mononoke by Studio Ghibli and Hayao Miyazaki. Just like he has such strong messages about nature and many of his films, and just how beautifully that was executed in Princess Mononoke. Basically, just like that's where Mononoke logging we used for the company name came from. Just kind of just like that difference between human need to survive and innovate and just keep getting more and more and more and taking more and more and more versus just nature and just how needed it is in order for us to continue living and how we need to respect it rather than taking from it. I just like the message in that film was just so beautiful to me. And I just definitely brought it in when I was just thinking of creating Trees Blood and while we were creating it, as well as the Jungle Book in terms of characters. We were thinking about an immortal child living in the forest. And especially when we got to the human part, I was like, okay, is the kid gonna look like Mowgli? Also just like the art and just the creative, like the craftsmanship in especially 2D animated movies is definitely inspired me because we were going to do 2D animated as well. So I was just looking about how detailed and how beautifully each character was written and drawn, how nature was drawn, just the different greens and colors of the wildlife really just inspired me while I was just writing or creating or doing random sketches in my book. And also one of the things that I just really just brought drawn inspiration from was the movie Wolfwalkers. Basically, it's about two girls who basically become werewolves, and they basically have to protect their forest from the European just like wolf hunters and just like the town nearby that wants to eradicate all the wolves so they can just like chop down the forest, use it for more logging. It is one of the most beautiful films that I have ever watched. I watch it repeatedly. The characters, I love werewolves, and just nature itself, just how it's drawn, how it looks, how much we take it for granted, and how like frankly just like divine it is. It's like magic in itself. So just like really bringing that magic quality to our film where it like really just heightened the fantastical elements, I think.
Definitely. And Eden, what about you? Where do you draw inspiration from when you're writing, developing, creating?
Definitely. I mean, like, who in animation doesn't take inspiration from Ghibli a little bit, you know? Um, but also when I was like like while we were working on the film, we had to make Google Drives of like visual inspiration, and I put a lot of stuff from Wolfwalkers, uh, from Mune. Mune, if you don't know, Zion already explained Wolfwalkers, but Mune is about like a moon creature, and I haven't watched the film in a long time, but it's beautiful and stunning. And also, I think the game is called Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Like that, I like literally when I was when like we were all together and we were writing like Zamora, I was imagining like that little white thing from that game. Um, but yeah, like Ghibli, also Rebecca Sugar's art is something as well. Um, Ghibli, Mune, Wolfwalkers, uh, um, I already said Mune. Rebecca Sugar's art and so much more that showed just like the very magical aspects to animation.
That's awesome. And I wanted to ask you, Steph, we notice animation often being used to depict comical or even lighthearted stories. We've all seen Nickelodeon, Disney. But what benefits do you see animation having to bringing what benefits does animation bring to storytelling about heavier or darker topics, kind of like the ones that we see in Trees, Blood, and Peppermint Spiral?
Yeah, that's a really great question, Stephanie. So animation has always been a fantastic vehicle to illustrate difficult and darker topics because the fantasy component allows for a degree of separation, which gives us room to process different kinds of issues. So, when you think of it, every Disney or Nickelodeon story out there has something sad and or scary. It's really a part of what makes up a great story. And Tree's Blood is a great little film that draws in crowds of all ages to get the attention of environmental concerns, and it's a perfect example of this.
That's great. I completely agree. Ethan, Real Start there's a huge mentorship component to the program. Could you speak a little bit about could you speak a little on the value of mentorship, especially for young artists who are systematically underrepresented or not heard, their voices aren't heard as often in the current media landscape?
I would love to. I mean, I think something Zion said earlier, where it feels so challenging and hard to break into this industry. And that's really at its core the value of our mentorship. Number one is you're looking at the full breadth of opportunity, the buffet of opportunity within the industry, be it on the studio side, in the pre-production, post-production, marketing. There are so many different career paths. And when we can bring in mentors that either share in the experiences or have faces like our students, they can see someone like them that has achieved success that can demystify that. Also, these mentors allow one of the biggest challenges for anyone entering the industry, regardless of your background, is understanding the expectations. The creative workplace is not like any other workplace in the world. And that's a lot of the reason what draws people to it. But understanding what that expectation is, not just to get that first job, but to get the second, the third, to find success. That is what these mentors represent and provide to our students. It's a safe space for students to explore a career that maybe they hadn't considered before, find a place for their passion to connect, and then have someone they can ask those questions that maybe we are a little scared to ask sometimes. Like, what do I do to stand out? What do I do to drive my career forward? And whenever we can connect a student with someone that shares in their experience and says, you are not alone in this, and this is something that each and every one of us goes through as we navigate the industry, it's invaluable. And then, of course, there's also just the cool factor of connecting the mentorship who's created something you love and you have a passion for, to see that and really get to like kick the tires, for lack of a better term, on what a job or what a career path can look like. It's absolutely invaluable. And a big reason Real Start is able to successfully do what we do is because of those support of those industry professionals coming in and working with our classrooms, working with our students, helping them see that the challenges they're having in the classroom are no different than a challenge you're going to have on a major studio film or TV show. You have to reach a consensus. You have investors or a studio to satisfy. Sometimes you have to kill your darlings to deliver on something on budget. And that's what mentorship really allows. It says, you are not unique in experiencing these challenges, and I want you to know that.
100%. That makes sense. I want to remind us all in our audience that we are here for Spark Animation's Animation for Change initiative. And so, we're highlighting the diverse perspectives in storytelling. I'd love to ask you all, how do diverse perspectives, in your opinion, improve storytelling? Let's start with Becca.
So it is a fantastic time for diversity in storytelling, as far as I'm concerned, because we're living in an age where we're hearing more and more of these stories, and we're tradition in an industry that has traditionally only told the stories of certain people, so to speak, certain people, certain stories. But as the industry has changed and grown, we're hearing more and more of those. And it's getting people to listen to those voices because they have something to say. And it's fantastic that we have these organizations that help us do that. And I, for one, am proud to be part of it.
That's awesome. What about you, Zion? In your opinion, how do diverse perspectives improve storytelling?
For me, just growing up, especially, I was just so fascinated by just like the magical, the extraordinary, just whether it was just like watching like Peter Pan or just like watching Beyblade or Yu-Gi-Oh! Just like for me, especially, I was just drawn to these stories of just like these like young boys kind of just going on extraworldly or magical adventures. It really just captured my imagination. And there's just like always, even though I loved them and it was just like everything I had wanted, all that magic I had ever just like thought of and just like I wanted to embody, there was this sense of separation, this sense of difference, because I was a young Black trans boy and I didn't know it at the time. And I didn't look like the people that I saw on the screen, the magic that I identified with. It felt like wasn't made for me. It wasn't something I was a part of. And that really just had this sense of just like this sense of kind of just like difference, where throughout, as I continued to grow up and I continued to watch more stories and I started to see more just like the media that I loved and like learning and seeing more different parts in media, just like how little representation there actually is, how many stories aren't told, how we keep telling the same few stories time after time after time. The people of color, the queer people, the neurodivergent people, the women who just aren't represented in all of these stories that we've grown and loved, and just how we don't feel a part of our basically our own stories, our own magic, our own fantasy worlds. And just like how representation really just means everything. It can mean the difference between someone pursuing their dreams or thinking that they have to go into a regular job or continue with something that they don't love. It just separates them from the magic, I really feel like. So for me, it's like something I feel very strongly about, where it's just like representation in media is quite literally one of the most important things I think you can see growing up. So just like I want to be a part of that change, and I want to be a part of just making stories that have that magic that I loved as a kid, and just have as many different stories and perspectives as possible, and telling more that haven't even been like scratching the surface. How cool is that? Like there's so many different ideas that haven't been shown, that haven't been written about yet. Like the possibilities. It's so exciting to me. So I'm so excited to be a part of that. And I'm so glad I was a part of it. Yeah.
That's so inspiring, and it's great that you get to contribute to telling those stories, which is really awesome. Eden, do you have anything that you'd like to add about, diverse perspectives and storytelling?
Well, and sorry. So the original All Quiet on the Western Front film was made in the 1930s after World War One, and the book was written by a German veteran from World War One. When it was adapted into a movie for the first time, um, there were veterans from both sides of the war, both acting and writing and producing and working on the film. And at this point, there wasn't really any sort of commentary on what really happened in war at that time. But a soldier went up to the writers or the director and told a story about how he saw a soldier climbing out of a ditch, and he had his hands on some metal bars, and a grenade or a mine exploded, and all that was left were his hands. And it's stories like that that's really important, because the world wouldn't have known the true side to real experiences like war if it weren't for real people who at one point were fighting and killing one another, now coming together to work on a film that tells their story from both sides. And I feel like that story really stresses to me the importance of diversity in this industry.
Absolutely. That's a really impactful story. And I think it does really exemplify why having diverse perspectives from different sides of the same story are really important to have and to see. So thank you. And so we are going to wrap up, but I'd love to ask, real start. Both Zion, Eden, you're graduates of the program. What's next for you? We'll start with Eden.
Right now, I'm studying animation at Chapman University, and I eventually plan on joining the industry as a storyboard artist and working my way up towards a director or showrunner.
Incredible. Zion, what about you?
My next step is just starting creating and working in the industry. There's so many things I want to do. I want to direct. I want to storyboard. I want to script write. I want to do creature and character design. I want to just like make my own films. I want to act. I want to like voice act. There's just so many possibilities that can be had in the creative and entertainment industry. And I'm just like, in any pathway, I'm just ready. I'm just ready to start. I'm ready to learn, even do things that I didn't even know were possible or I hadn't even thought of that could like have a spark of creativity for me inside of it. So I'm really just like looking for whether it's like designing characters or just like helping in background art or doing character or creature design. I would just be into just like starting and doing anything and just getting my full like 10 like hands in and just like get hands on a project. I'm just like ready for what's next. Or it's just like eventually I just want to be creating my own films with what, regardless of whatever media like I'm using or what it's about. I just want to be like a creative. I am a storyteller. So I just like am ready to just tell stories next. I'm just completely just ready. So I'm ready for anything. And I'm just like so eager to just get in and just start. So yeah.
That's awesome. That's so important to have too. Ethan, what's next for Real Start?
Well, it's really exciting. Like Ed and Zion, who represent our LA classroom, and our recently wrapped up Toronto classroom, kind of concluded our 5th program year. So we'll be launching our next program year in 2025, which means 24 new students in both our animation and live action classrooms. And we are looking to just continue to develop our program, have as much impact, and one of the most exciting things for me hearing Ed and Zion speak as they begin these next steps in their career is just, I cannot wait to have you both come back and join the classroom as mentors down the line. Like, one of the things we've, in our, 5 years of running programming, we're just starting to see our high school graduates go on through college or additional training programs and entering the workforce. And that's, for us, the proof in the pudding. And the most exciting thing is watching and shepherding our high school program students all the way through as they begin their career and continue to support them beyond. And hopefully they'll come back to our classrooms as mentors down the line to help foster that same excitement and hope in a next generation of creators and craftspeople.
Yeah, absolutely. Share that knowledge and that experience and the good work that you all are doing. That's awesome. Becca, what about you? What's next for you at Exceptional Minds? What are you working on?
Well, as of now, I'm doing some motion graphics work on for CBS Sports, just some fun little Halloween overlays during the games and all that. I'm also working on we are producing some IPs for the studio. And I've been doing some visual development on those, prop designs and background designs. And so that's what I've been up to, and hopefully more to come.
Exciting. We'll have to look forward to seeing those soon. Steph, what's next for Exceptional Minds Animation Studio?
Well, I can't go into too much detail on all the things we're doing, but we are looking into working on some animation adjacent projects, including things like illustration for children's books, as well as some comic book art and design. We're also in talks right now about contributing some animation to a documentary, it's like a feature documentary, and so there's a potential for a lot of work there. The other thing that we're working on that Becca mentioned is that we're starting to do IP work in the studio, which is fantastic. We're able to collaborate with our artists and students from Exceptional Minds who have original ideas of their own. And we're able to put together the animation teams and have them produce their own independent work that we'll be excited to showcase when we're ready for that. And long term, we would obviously love to have the chance to work with the amazing young creators and incredible team from the Real Start program again. So who knows if that's in the cards for us or not. That would be great.
Absolutely. It's great to hear. Both orgs are doing incredible things. I'm really excited to see what's next. That is all the time we have for today. So thank you all so much for joining us today for Spark Animation 2024. You can find Real Start online at realstart.org. That's REEL, realstart.org, and Exceptional Minds at exceptional-minds.org. to watch both Trees Blood and the other collaboration short that we created. Both of them will be on YouTube. So please look out for those. And thank you all so much for joining the panel today. It's been really great to speak with you all.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.